Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I don't know why it's showing the live show as a link instead of the actual live show itself. That's a bit weird. What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Kerry, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been, Kerry? Even Miles, the CMF, good to see you as well. How you doing, JD? How you been? Good day, Miles. Good to see you as well. Mike, how you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles, the CMF. Bull XRP, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Here we go. Now it's showing an actual video. Evening, Miles, the CMF. Joe, good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Miles. Worry about the dip. Gone very deep. Don't worry, you'll survive it. Hi, Miles. Larry, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been, Larry? Long time. How's things, Larry? Is the end to this any chance of a summer crypto? Yes, 100%. We're not in a bear market. We're just in a very crazy manipulated market. Right before the ISO, which is around November 22nd, right before the Clarity Act, we're in a government shutdown situation. There's a tariff situation that's going on, which has been over-exaggerated right now. Good evening, Miles, the CMF. SB, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? There's a lot of things happening that's weighing in inside the market space right now, but it's just heavily manipulated. This is not a bear market. This is just a very corrupted, manipulated market space, to be fairly honest. Good evening, Miles, the CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? So let's go through the intro, disclaimer, and what we're going to talk about on tonight's live, and then we go straight into the first news. I'm going to cover a mixture of news as we always do on tonight's live. And welcome to the CMF live show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. You can tune to this live Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time onwards for the most recent news regarding cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, pretty much all the information you should know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. We also do essentially Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. More than happy to help you out. The disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. And this is episode essentially 389 of the CMF Live. Now, on tonight's live, we're going to be covering essentially regarding what's happening inside the market space, some partnership news, some banking news to go through as usual, and obviously some Ripple news to go through on tonight's live as well. Before essentially we go through the first news, which is regarding the crypto market space in general, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the crypto news, and then back to the comment section. Let's see where we were at inside the comment section. We were at here, I think. Yep. Paul, hi, Miles. Heavy day today. Yeah, it definitely was. 100%. Is it true that the driver makes shutdown might go as long as 40 days now? Regarding the government shutdown, it may go as long as 40 days now, as what you're referring to. Government shutdown could go, but the longest government shutdown we had was about 35 days, if I'm not mistaken. Could it go for that long? It all depends on the Democratic Party coming to some sort of an agreement with Trump. Good. I'm going to call you. I have a speaking keynote for you to shine. No problem, Larry. Let me know. Contact me after the live, definitely. Good evening, Miles, and all the CMF. JP, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles, the CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? Doing great, holding the line and doing some shopping. That's the best way to look at it, Mike. Hello, Miles. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles. How's things? Artistic things are great. Good to see you as well. I just want to take a second just to say, honestly, thank you so much to everybody from the CMF, or anybody else that's watching right now who isn't even part of CMF. Thank you so much to everyone who has liked and retweeted this live if you're watching this on X. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now, thanks so much for dropping a like as well. CMF members, if you haven't already smashed the like buttons or smash the retweet buttons, smash the likes, smash the retweets on X. If you're watching on X, if you're watching on YouTube, essentially just go for the like button. Now, the first news we're going to cover on tonight's live is regarding the entire crypto market space, essentially what's going on. The markets are still slightly dipping and people are getting worried inside the crypto space, but you shouldn't be worried, because if you know the long-term plan, you know for a fact that crypto is here to stay. You know for a fact that the banks are expanding day by day inside the crypto space. It could be essentially through stable coins, it could be through tokenization, it could be through crypto custody. That's not just banks inside the United States, it's worldwide banks that are expanding inside the crypto space day by day during the markets dipping. We also have institutions opening up essentially some sort of crypto treasuries during the markets dipping. Also, we have more ETFs, more ETPs expanding worldwide as well daily while the markets are still dipping. The long-term plan for the crypto space is still here. It's getting stronger and it is getting bigger, but the markets aren't reflecting that. And it essentially comes back to how the crypto space is heavily manipulated by the people that run the show. The faster we get regulations, the slower the essentially the stop that we could put, a certain stop that we could put towards manipulation. Manipulation will always be there even if we have regulations, but it'll be less manipulated during regulations, is what I'm trying to get to. Now, the crypto markets slump during aimed global trade fears. There's still that trade fear situation going on with the US and China. Now, we have had a discussion essentially that China might be coming towards the table in South Korea, apparently with Trump, to have some sort of a conversation regarding that matter of essentially what China brings to the table. The US putting China under pressure with Trump making that tweet a few days ago that crashed the entire market space. Essentially, China is definitely feeling the pressure right now with the EU, especially coming out today and suggesting that China has too much control over the market space in terms of exports, imports, and natural minerals, and that the EU needs to do something about it. So Trump putting pressure on China worked because everybody else is slowly turning against China and Russia again. So here it is. The cryptocurrency markets has gone red as Bitcoin essentially dropped below $110,000. The fall seems to be as a result of the ongoing trade fair tensions between the US and China in terms of their trade tensions. At the time of writing this article, essentially, Bitcoin is trading at around $108,000, which is below that by now, which is around 2.97% drop in the last 24 hours as traders are reacting to the event. According to CMC, Ethereum essentially also slipped 2.50% down to essentially Ethereum slipped as well. So did XRP, so did Solana, Cardano, Dogecoin, AVAX. You get the picture. The entire crypto space is on essentially on a slipping downward trend. As a result of this, the overall market capitalization also dropped by 2.59% to around $3.67 trillion. In addition to that, the fear and greed index, which also measures the overall sentiment of the crypto space, is essentially at 32. This means that investors are extremely cautious and less willing to take risk, or more likely to sell and stay out of the market space. If you sell, not financial advice whatsoever in any sort of a way. I had a friend of mine essentially message me today. I'm not going to mention who he is in any sort of a way. I had a friend of mine essentially contact me today through WhatsApp, talking about how everybody's now coming to some sort of a conclusion that the crypto market space is a scam. And I said, if people inside the crypto space that are new or regulars or even veterans inside the crypto space, they're coming to some sort of a conclusion that a crypto space is a scam, then that means the institutions have won, the whales have won, the exchanges have won, the governments have won, and the banks have won. If you've come to some sort of conclusion that the crypto space is a scam, knowing with all the contracts, licensings, the expansions, the regulations that are being put into place, they think it's a scam now, would be quite ridiculous. So if people are coming to the conclusion that it's a scam and they want to stay out of the crypto space, then everybody has a choice. It's your money, it's your choice, it's your assets. You can do whatever you want with them. About 209,371,000 such traders were liquidated from the markets, with roughly $692 essentially $1 million in positions essentially in the past 24 hours, according to CoinGlass. Meanwhile, this is just a few days after the $19 billion that was liquidated roughly from the market space. I just want to mention one thing as well. The crypto space is exaggerating the amount of liquidations. It wasn't $19 billion. What everybody's posting on X. $19 billion was liquidated from the crypto market space. It was 9.55. On the weekend, it was 9.55 billion. That's what's recorded through CoinGlass data. On X, influencers, people on X are suggesting it was around $19 billion. But with actual data from CoinGlass, it was 9.55 million. It was 9.55 billion. In addition to that, option traders have become more bearish, according to an analytics platform, essentially Greeks Live. More than 1.15 billion, or about 28% of total option volumes, has flowed into essentially shallow out-of-money puts, which means that investors are hedging against further downside, and traders are targeting essentially strikes prices between $104,000 or $108,000 regarding essentially for Bitcoin. Right now, if you are a futures trader inside the market space, if you're trading on futures in the crypto space, it's extremely volatile. The only way you can win inside of a market space that's heavily manipulated by exchanges, banks, institutions, and governments, or whales, is buying for long term. If you trade in markets like this, you're going against titans, basically, and you're bound to lose. You could be long in the market or you could be short in the market. Both sides, you're bound to lose. How you can win in a market space like this is going for long-term holds, because you won't lose on them. In the long run, you'll reap in the benefits and the profits of that. But in the short term, if you're trying to do some sort of futures trading, you're going to get burned from either side. And the quote that I essentially gave last time, essentially from Money Never Sleeps, which was, the bulls and the essentially bears are headbutting each other right now, but they're both winning. And the retail in the middle are getting slaughtered. But the quote is essentially, the bulls and bears are winning on the top, and the pigs are getting slaughtered, which essentially is the retail section. But that is essentially what is happening. This is why, if you are essentially a retail member and you want to win in this choppy movement of a market space, long-term holds are your only option. If you try to do futures trading, try to long or short the market, you're bound to get liquidated. High risk of getting liquidated, low risk, essentially. About 99% of you will get liquidated. 1% of you will survive in futures right now. Just to put in that perspective. SEC, Hester Pierce, also sheds light on the crypto challenges and prospects. Because we have a government shutdown, we can't get the ETFs passed, even though the SEC created this fast track, essentially ETF filing, where every essentially company that did file for some sort of an ETF, an XRP ETF, a HBAR, XLM, essentially AVAX ETF, Solana ETF, and so on, they can't fast track it because the SEC technically is low on staff due to the government shutdown. So Hester Pierce came out and gave her perspectives on the market space. Cryptocurrencies encountered significant turbulence today, with Bitcoin struggling to keep its value above $108,000 thresholds and many altcoins witnessing declines over 5%. Essentially, despite the peace discussions between Russia and Ukraine today, escalating essentially trade frictions with China further aggravated market uncertainties. During this volatile period, the SEC Commissioner, Hester Pierce, provided crucial insights into the cryptocurrency domain. So Hester Pierce decided to give some sort of an update, at least towards the market space, of what's going to be happening next. Are we going to get the ETFs? What's happening? Is a stall? And so on. Tokenization represents a monumental growth avenue, essentially, and for the blockchain space, with predictions pointing to a market size reaching trillions within the near future. And major financial players have initiated pilot projects inside the space. BlackRock, for example, tokenized US bonds have already achieved a valuation in billions, showcasing a trend of essentially increasing interest. Hester Pierce indicated that the SEC is concentrating on crafting clear rules related to a token distribution custody services. She revealed the agency's proactive stance to collaborate with Congress to establish balanced crypto regulations. So the SEC isn't, just sitting on the sidelines waiting for the government shutdown to end and essentially begin working on the crypto space, drafting some sort of rules and regulations. They're not sitting on the sidelines in any sort of way. They're still trying to draft some sort of rules and regulations with the help of Congress during this government shutdown. With the US government shutdown extending into second week, operations inside the crypto sphere have stalled. This deadlock is particularly essentially as it disrupts the highly anticipated ETF approvals. The framework for altcoin ETF endorsements is ready under the new SEC leadership, but its resolutions remain on hold due to the government shutdown. The SEC apparently is ready to start fast-tracking all these ETFs, but they can't because due to the government shutdown and being understaffed. We don't want to live in a world where the government knows everything, Pierce told. Focusing on privacy, government power, as history shows, can be misused, requiring us to consider proactive measures. Adding another dimension, the Nasdaq has positioned essentially SEC for permission to sell tokenized securities, hinting at the potential emergence of crypto-based exchanges inside the US market space. The specific takeaways from Hester Pierce's speech is the SEC's active engagement with Congress on crypto legislations. That is still going on. Congress and the SEC are still talking together regarding how can we bring more innovation inside the crypto space. Significant market movements by financial giants and tokenizations is still happening. BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, they're all still expanding inside the crypto space through tokenization right now. A clear readiness for altcoin ETF frameworks despite the shutdown. The SEC is actually coming out from, Hester Pierce saying the SEC is ready to pass some of these ETFs through, to pass all these ETFs through for these fast-track ETF they've set up, but because the government shut down, they're on halt. Heightened privacy concerns with increasing governmental data access. As cryptos flatter under the weight of BTC falling below $108,000 and ETH also drifting under the $3,900, the dialogue between Russia and Ukraine seems to have a little market influence right now. Further weekend downturns essentially could loom, prompting market participants to reassess their risk exposures. So even though we are having a little bit of uncertainty inside the market space happening, we did have one war finalize itself, the Israeli-Palestinian war. That is completely done. The Russian-Ukraine war is not having much effect on the crypto space. It's just the China situation, the government shutdown situation. Yet again, Bitcoin should be a safe haven in this scenario because gold is skyrocketing, while as Bitcoin, not so much, even though it's digital gold. And the Bitcoin maxis have been very silent on the whole digital gold, title or slogan they give Bitcoin, because I'm not seeing any Bitcoin maxis on X anymore talking about digital gold, because this is when digital gold is supposed to react in a positive way. Markets are, in turbulence, China tension, trade wars, war scenarios, and the digital gold is not reacting like gold. Now, regional banks is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's slide. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. This is why, honestly, it's so important to decouple. Everybody inside the crypto space is going to celebrate and pop champagne bottles the moment we decouple from Bitcoin's treacherous footsteps inside the market space. Honestly, it's going to be a very happy and bright and sunny day for all of us when XRP, XLM, XDC, Solana, Ethereum, AVAX, you name it, decouples itself from Bitcoin's treacherous footsteps and goes into utility. That will be an incredible day for all of us inside the crypto space, because the markets won't be manipulated with one token anymore. Let's go inside the comment section first before we do go through the next question, before we do go through the next news on tonight's live. And the next news is regarding banks. But before we go through that, let's see what's happening. We were here, I think. Yeah. Good evening, Miles. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Good to see you as well, Kenny. How you doing? Hello, Miles and CMF family. Everyone, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles and CMF. Comatose, good to see you as well. How you doing? Anyone want to donate to me? Lol, I'm running out of money. Fair enough. Anyone want to donate to me? Lol, I'm running out of spending money. No problem. I mean, autistic, we're all in the same boat right now. Miles, what Beam can do price point wise? Price point wise, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Can Beam do well in the long term? In the gaming sector, sure. I mean, the gaming sector is definitely going to grow as we go more into this digital future, especially the AI world, or essentially the digital world and so on. How long before we can loan against our XRP in the UK? So last time we mentioned this were warned off as no regulations approved yet in the UK. So how are we going to get our money out if we can't lend against it? Well, Paul, you don't have to borrow against it essentially, regarding UK or British firms. You can borrow against other banks outside the United Kingdom as well. So, for example, HSBC does let you, starting with some assets from Hong Kong, you can borrow against your crypto assets, or you can use platforms like Nexo. They do have essentially licensings to do some lending service, to offer lending services. Standard Chartered Bank also offers it through Zodiac Custody, but preferably I would wait still for essentially Ripple itself to be offering lending services and borrowing services essentially with the bank charter license they're getting if you want to borrow against XRP, for example. So I would say still wait, in my opinion, not financial advice in any sort of a way, but I would wait personally. Evening all. Susie, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Adi, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles. Micah, good to see you as well. How you doing? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing? How are you today? I'm doing great, Michael. Good to see you. How long after the government opens will the SEC approve the ETFs, do you think? Within weeks, I would say. How long, the SEC, let's say the government shutdown ends, the SEC opens its doors. How long do I think? I think within weeks it should be passed through. Sorry if this is daft question. Nothing is a daft question in any sort of way, Paul. I'm always here to help people, no matter how simple or complex your questions may be. But why is there a government shutdown and what's the purpose of it? It's a great question because some people might not know the answer to. So the government shutdown only happened because they didn't get the votes in to essentially print money, for example, to keep the government open. The Democrats don't agree with the Republicans don't agree with the Democrats. A government shutdown doesn't mean the US government is completely shut down. There are still workers, essentially, there are also employees in every sector. It's just less employees in every sector, essentially. And the people that did get sent home, they don't get paid because the government doesn't have any sort of money, pretty much. The government shutdowns only happened because both the sides of the party didn't agree to the continuation of funding, essentially. Hi, Miles and family. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? Now, there are other aspects that are government shutdown as well, but the main ones are that. Game change aggressively, no getting rich quick. $19 billion of credit, Matt. 9 billion, 9.5. How long time after Clarity Act do you think XRP will decouple from BTC? Months or years? Months. Definitely months. Good evening, Brother Miles and CMF family. Good to see you, Funky Brother. How you doing? I hope I haven't missed much, Funky Brother. Perfect timing. Miles, I know you have been saying that as the final stage will be the toughest time. Yes, I have. I've warned everyone for the longest time that the final stage is going to be frustration. A trader or essentially a crypto investor or so on, or an investor in general, will go through a few stages in life. The last stage, as I explained to everyone, is going to be frustration. They're going to frustrate you in your positions where you would end up selling, which a lot of people have done inside the crypto space, which to me sounds absolutely crazy. For you to hold on through everything you've been through inside the crypto space with the SEC and Gary Gensler stolen everything, through the FTX situations, through the Luna situations, through the regulation situations, through all the lawsuits, through everything, to go through all of that, knowing because at the end of the road is regulations for utility, knowing that the end of the road is pretty much essentially licensings and expansions into banks and governments and liquidity flows and essentially institutions, all of that is coming at the end of the road, at the end of the pot, basically, you could say. And then you would sell. And the only reason some people have sold is because they went through the stage of frustration and it got to them. They were so frustrated that they sold their positions inside the market space, which to me just sounds crazy. To go through all of that just to sell at the end. Why did you even bother entering into the crypto space in the first place? If you sell because you need money, that's fair enough. If you sell your positions because you need to feed your family or keep the lights on inside your house or pay for your bills, that's fair enough. But to sell out of frustration is just ludicrous because it makes no sense to go through all of that just to sell at the end and walk away with nothing. That's just crazy. We will need big kahunas, but this is a real test for us. Yes, my kahunas are shrinking daily. Funky, you'll survive. Don't worry, you'll survive. Honestly, it's like running in a race, seeing the finish line and going, I'm too tired. I'm just going to walk off the race. Regional banks drive market turbulence. It's not just essentially all the other factors that are playing inside the market space. This is also playing inside the market space as well. Regional banks drive market turbulence aimed credit concerns. Fluctuations inside the financial sector are once again the center of investors' attention, as regional banks essentially face a downturn sparking wider market volatility. Emerging credit concerns have not only been pulling the broader essentially stock markets, but have also impacted cryptocurrencies, experiencing downward slide. These developments echo previous turbulence observed in financial markets, hinting at the underlying vulnerabilities and raising questions about the long-term investor confidence. Credit worries surrounding regional banks revolve around their exposure to debt and potential regulatory changes. Investors are closely monitoring the situation as market volatility increases, wary of possible, essentially, credit downgrades and tighter lending standards that could also affect their profits. Economic uncertainties have prompted some sort of a caution approach, influencing market trends drastically. The broader stock markets have also reacted with notable declines as a result of the stress faced by regional banks. The drop reflects investor essential anxiety over the potential cutbacks in banks' lending policies and highlights a shift in market sentiment. Also, Bitcoin, essentially often seen as a hedge against traditional market volatility, has not been immune to these developments. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is definitely not shining as that safe haven, risk off digital gold everybody sees it as. Instead, it's just acting like a risk on, not so much of a digital gold asset. Some investors are seeing essentially the decline in Bitcoin as a consensus of reduced liquidity and increased risk. As a result, the digital currency mirrors the lack of confidence currently seen within traditional financial markets. Analysts suggest that these market movements could extend into the foreseeable future. Given essentially current conditions, a representative from leading financial institutions stated, "We are observing a trend of increased caution in credit markets, which is influencing traditions and trading decisions across the board." Additionally, another source commented, "The unfolding scenarios are prompting us to reassess our portfolios and risk exposure accordingly. Such shifts in strategies are becoming common as market participants adapt to evolving financial environments." Broader implications stem from these uncertainties, with possible ripple effects across different sectors. Now, companies depend on flexible credit lines may find themselves adjusting their financial strategies due to stricter lending conditions, and these changes necessitate vigilance among investors and businesses alike. Despite the observed instability, learning from the past market reactions can serve as a guidance for future strategies. Diversifying investments and maintaining adaptability are key actions to navigate these challenges. Understanding the influence of credit markets on a wider economic activities and crucial for anticipating further developments. If we have another credit situation inside the market space, we could be looking at a 2008 scenario where the entire market completely crashed inside the stock markets. But they're saying, because they're adjusting themselves and taking notes from historical events, that a 2008 crash might not be happening or won't happen in general. But there is a credit situation going on right now inside the crypto space, which is also weighed in. So it's not just the over-exaggerated China tariff situation that's essentially weighing inside the crypto market space, or Bitcoin following in tech stocks' footsteps. Also, we have credit issues going on at the exact same time. Isn't it interesting that we have credit situations happening out of nowhere at the exact same time? Not out of nowhere, it's been brewing up, but the timing of the news coming out is the interesting factor. We have credit situations brewing up, essentially coming out now. We have the tariff situation on China, which is heavily over-exaggerated, should have negative impacts on the crypto market space, but not as much as it did. We also have the war scenarios going on and some other trade tensions going on right now, all right before we get a Clarity Act, which brings utility towards the table, at the ISO situation on 22nd. It's an interesting play, I would have to say. Now, China, the good news of all of this trade tensions and war scenarios and any other thing, credit platforms that are affecting the crypto market space, putting all that to one side, there are some sort of good news coming out as well. Except the banks also expanding, that's brilliant news. Institutions still expanding inside the crypto space, that's also amazing news. But this is also coming out as well. China signals willingness for the US in terms of trade talks, is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. Before we go through the next news on tonight's live, let's go to the comment section first. As I previously said, this is live, which means if you do have any questions or comments, go for it inside the comment section. Let's see where we're at inside the comment section. We were at here. Hi, Mars CMF. Hope everyone is doing well. Ronnie, good to see you, brother. How you doing? Big institutions really shaking our beliefs to the core, as families are looking at me with a big question mark. A lot of people are going to be asking questions. Families, friends who have invested because of what you have said. Look, if your family members that invested because of you inside the crypto space are coming to you asking questions, or your work colleagues or your friends are coming to you and saying, you told me to go for the crypto space and so on, this is happening, then that means the institutions, the banks, the governments, and the exchanges and the whales have won. If they're coming with that thought pattern, then that means their work has worked. Essentially, the exchanges, the banks, the whales, and essentially institutions, it's worked. If people are coming to you asking big questions. Now, good evening, Miles. It's CMF for Feather. Good to see you. How you doing? Trade talks, China. There's some good news coming out of all of this. In a notable diplomatic, essentially, development, China has announced its intentions to work with the United States to find a solution on trade. So this trade tension between the US and China might be coming to an end, potentially paving the way for a renowned dialogue between the two economic superpowers. This statement, released by Chinese officials earlier today, marks a possible easing of the tensions that have weighed in heavily on the global markets in recent years. With the ongoing tariffs and export restrictions and geopolitical rivalry, the US and China trade relationships has remained one of the most critical issues in the international economics. Analysts suggest that China's recent economic challenges, including the sluggish post-COVID recovery and supply chain essentially disruptions, may be prompting a more cooperative stance. The US has also essentially shown interest in stabilizing the trade environments, particularly ahead of the essentially elections that, the midterm elections, so on, as inflation and import costs remain top domestic concerns. Both nations have previously signaled interest in reducing friction, but concrete essentially progress has been limited. This essentially new communication raises hopes that the future in terms of China and US trade talks could result in policy shifts, reduced tariffs, or mutual economic incentives. Improved US trade and China essentially talks and relations typically results in more stable global markets. If tensions essentially ease, investor confidence may rise across sectors, including commodities, equities, essentially, and even digital assets. For the crypto markets, which often reacts to macroeconomic shifts, a cooperative stance between the two countries could be bullish. Reduced uncertainty can lead to stronger capital flows into the risk assets, including essentially Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. While this is still too early to predict outcomes, the fact that dialogue is essentially on the table right now between the US and China, it's incredible. It's a promising sign for global trade and economic stability. What Trump done with crashing the entire global market space definitely worked, because it put pressure on China. Because even the EU today came out and said that China has too much power in terms of essentially negotiating of the exports and imports, and also the power that they do have over natural minerals, and that the Chinese companies expanding into the West and taking over. Even the EU is coming to that conclusion. For example, even India came to the conclusion that they should be distancing themselves from China essentially and Russia, and stop buying oil from Russia as well. What Trump did within a span of 24 hours, crashing the global markets, showed the United States strength. That the US doesn't need to use missiles or nuclear power to show its strength to the world. It could just press a button. In this case, one tweet from Donald Trump can crash the world's economy. And that made every country turn on China overnight. Pretty much. Because they saw the power that the United States has just with one tweet. That Trump doesn't need to go to war. It could just crash your country's economy. Now, it's not just that essentially Trump is going to be having talks with Xi Jinping on trade talks with China, which is brilliant for the market space, but also he's going to be having discussions again with Putin. Trump and Putin set for potential talks in Budapest. Former President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin announced potential summit in Budapest to discuss resolving the Russian and Ukraine conflicts over a call. This meeting's essentially announcement has not yet affected the crypto markets or spurred some sort of official regulatory updates. The US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin planned for that summit in Budapest, exploring some sort of a resolution to the Russian and Ukraine war. This follows a lengthy conversation essentially deemed productive by Trump. Top stories essentially from the Infrax. The United States initial meetings will be led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, together with various other people to be essentially designated. A meeting location is determined by President Putin, and I will then meet in essentially agreed upon locations in Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring this some sort of a war to an end between Russia and Ukraine. Now, the summit includes Marco Rubio leading the US essentially talks, Melania Trump's engagements in humanitarian issues concerning displaced children essentially was also appreciated by Putin. According to Trump, the meeting aims to find peace in the ongoing conflicts. Past political summits typically cause fleeting market volatility. However, no immediate impacts on the crypto markets has so far happened. Regulatory bodies have not made announcements tied to the event, and experts note geopolitical events can bring temporary market shifts, though the financial markets historically react to each summit. Now, currently, no on-chain data supports a direct crypto market change due to this meeting, and historically, summits between global powers sometimes lead to essentially some sort of short market fluctuations, and the current meeting does not exhibit reported financial consequences on digital currencies. And experts suggest geopolitical actions can bring about market uncertainties. Prevailing data illustrates no concrete swings in crypto tied to direct to post a meeting and declarations or short-term policy changes. So we're going to be having a sit-down with Xi Jinping and Trump, talking essentially about China and US trade tensions, and we're going to be having another sit-down essentially with Trump and Putin, talking about ending the war regarding Ukraine and Russia. This is incredible news, because we're finally getting to a stage where, one, the Israel war is done, two, the Ukraine and Russia war might be done, and three, the trade tensions between China and the US might be fixed soon. All of that should have positive incentives on the market space. Tech stocks will go back up, which means Bitcoin will follow tech stocks' footsteps and go back up as well. The rest of the crypto market space will follow that. The only thing we need after that is pretty much a government shutdown to end. So the government opens back up, the SEC starts fast-tracking all the ETFs, and we move on to the Clarity Act. It will be like a domino effect. Now, crypto executives fork over cash at Trump's ballroom fundraiser. So Trump essentially had and hosted essentially a dinner for companies pledging funds to build a new ballroom inside the White House, and crypto companies came with their checkbooks. So here it is. US President Donald Trump hosted a dinner for companies pledging funds to build a new ballroom inside the White House, with attendees reportedly including Gemini's co-founders, Cameron and Tyler, and executives from Coinbase and Ripple. According to essentially the Wall Street Journal report, among the donors and the attendees at the dinner at the White House were essentially the Gemini brothers, Coinbase's Global, and Ripple Labs. Also, the dinner was reported to be aimed at funding for the White House ballroom proposed by Trump, a $250 million project. The ballroom is projected to add about 90,000 square feet, 8,361 square meters to the White House. Cointelegraph also reached out to Coinbase, Ripple, Gemini, and the White House for comments on the amounts of donations, but has not received any sort of responses. So we don't know what the donations that Ripple made or Coinbase made, or essentially any other donors made towards the White House or Trump. The fundraising dinner came at the end of the 15th day of the US government shutdown, when many federal agencies are operating with limited staff and employees have also been prolonged. As of today, there have been no reports of a deal between Democrats and Republicans in Congress to pass a bill to continue the funding of the government. Other attendees reported that at the fundraising event, including representatives from Meta, Google, Amazon, Lockheed Martin, and Microsoft. Former Backett CEO Kelly was also there as well, currently working essentially as the administrator of the Small Business Administrations under Trump, reportedly attended as well. Before essentially the fundraising dinner, representatives of crypto executives, including CEOs and executives, had visited lawmakers and regulators essentially inside of Washington, D.C. as a part of a push towards a greater adoption of digital assets and blockchain. So the White House, Trump has a Trump dinner and invites essentially anybody that has a checkbook to create a new ballroom, which is going to cost $250 million for the White House. Ripple was there. So was Coinbase, so was Gemini. It's good to see that Ripple essentially, all these companies, all these crypto companies opening up their checkbooks, because it does add in way into, their favor in the long run, especially with Trump. Now, Japan is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. Moving on essentially from the investors, from the crypto space towards the White House to Japan. Before we talk about Japan, let's go inside the comment section first. As I previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions or comments, go for inside the comment section. More than happy to help you out. So let's see where we are inside the comment section first, and then we'll go straight into the next news regarding Japan and the essentially crypto sector. When is the bull run going to start? Funky Brother, a few things need to happen. Trust me, Miles, I'm holding my bags tight. Let's go, Funky Brother. There's a few things that need to be happening. One, government shutdown essentially needs to end. Two, the trade tensions between the US and China need to calm down. Three, we need to get the Clarity Act up and running, because that is what's going to help the crypto sector in the massive way, because that will bring utility towards the table, which will bring liquidity towards the table, and so on. So a few things need to fall into place, and it should be happening in this year, and should be happening quarter four. Quarter four should be a bright future ahead of us for all of us going into quarter one of next year, quarter two, quarter three, and so on. So we're not that far off. It just seems a bit far off because the market is heavily manipulated. But don't forget, the crypto space can go from $5,000 Bitcoins to $60,000 Bitcoins in a space of a couple of hours. So that can also happen as well. Hi, Miles and CMF Peg. Good to see you. How you doing? In these tough times, you've just got to ask yourself, do you believe in this or not? Facts, what Ronnie has just said. It's exactly what I said yesterday as well. When I was asked the question of, when is it enough? When should you just call it a loss and walk away from the crypto space is the question that I was asked. And I said, if you are holding onto a crypto project, for example, me, if I'm holding onto a crypto project, I like XRP, for example, I know the ins and outs of XRP Ledger. I know the ins and outs of Ripple. I know their contracts. I know their PDF documentations of what is public information. I know essentially their licensings. I know how far they're going. I know essentially their international license. I know everything about them. So I know what their future is going to be. And therefore, if the market goes here, or if the market goes here, I know what's going to be happening next anyway. So I couldn't care less if my XRP lost 99% of its value, because I still know what XRP is capable of, and I still know what XRP Ledger or Ripple is capable of. So if you're holding on to something that you know what it's going to achieve based on licensings, based on contracts, based on regulations, based on its utility, based on which companies it works with, based on which banks it works with, based on which governments it works with, and you know all of that for your crypto projects that you're holding, then what's the worry? There shouldn't be any worry, because you know what's going to happen next. So why are you looking at a short-term perspective when you should be looking at a long-term perspective? There shouldn't be any worries whatsoever. But if you're holding on to a crypto project that you don't know fully about, then that's when the issue starts to rise. So that's why even if I lose 99% of valuation of my crypto portfolio, I couldn't care less, because I know what's going to happen next though. They couldn't shift me if they used a wrecking ball to move me out of my position. I'm still not moving out of my positions. I'm still holding on to my XRP. Time to sell kidneys again. Funky Brother says, what up, Miles and CMF? Ray, good to see you. How you doing? Facts. Let's go, Ray. Let's go, Ray. Now, Japan. Japan is turning crypto into a mainstream payment rail. Japan's most recent payment change is a big one. PayPay, the most popular cashless app in Japan, has brought a 40% interest in Binance Japan. This shows that they want to combine crypto funding and spending into one of Japan's top consumer wallets. The goal for essentially 70 million plus PayPay users is simple: make PayPay money usable directly for essentially crypto transactions within regulated rails. PayPay's equity linkage gives Binance Japan a lot of distribution, and it also allows essentially PayPay a new asset class to route through compliance stacks, and especially the integration will let consumers essentially directly use PayPay money on Binance, essentially Binance Japan. This is a convenience that Japan's crypto market hasn't experienced at a wallet scale before. The plan comes after Binance returned 2022 through essentially super exchange Bitcoin, as Japan considers a broader legal reclassification of cryptocurrencies. This is how much cryptocurrencies are still being expanded inside the market space. If you have people, let's say essentially people around you who just invest inside the crypto space, work colleagues, friends, cousins, family members, and they're doubting the crypto market space because of what's going on right now. When you have entire countries expanding inside the crypto sector, if the crypto sector was a useless place, a place where it's going to go to zero, it has no usability, it has no utility, and it's just a Ponzi scheme as it was day one, as some people might claim, then why are countries still expanding inside the crypto space during this downtrend inside the market space? Why is JP Morgan investing billions of dollars into crypto custody services or tokenization? Why is BlackRock investing up to $10 billion into AI infrastructure and data centers and also into tokenization? Why is Goldman Sachs investing into crypto custody services and filing in applications during the market downtrend? You're seeing the crypto market space go like this, while Franklin Templeton, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, the list just goes on, are expanding in different sectors of the crypto space as the market's going down. So if this market is useless, if this market has no use case, if this market is a Ponzi scheme, why are these big, massive, behemoth corporations expanding inside of a market space that has no usability? Because it has usability, because it has utility, because it has a massive future that some people are just not seeing, because all they're seeing is the charts. Forget the charts. The charts are short term. Look at the contracts, look at the PDF documentations, look at what institutions are doing on a daily basis inside the crypto space. If you just walk away from the charts, you'll get the bigger picture, because all you're going to get from the charts is up, down, up, down, up, down. But if you zoom out of the charts and you go to the contracts, you go to the PDFs, you go to that, you'll see JP Morgan yesterday investing inside the crypto space. You'll see Goldman Sachs yesterday expanding inside the crypto space. You'll see Japan today expanding inside the crypto space. If it's such a horrible market space, if it's such a bad market space and so on, then why are these governments, these banks, these exchanges expanding in the crypto market space while the market is tumbling down? Because it's a perfect opportunity for them to buy you out. Policymakers are all going in the same direction. The FSA is looking into whether or not to move some of its crypto regulations from the Payment Service Act to the Financial Instruments and Exchange Act. This would essentially make sure that investors' safeguards are in line with security standards. Japan's stricter rules are in line with global trends towards essentially crypto assessments that is backed by essentially facts. Platforms like ICO Bench, which also collect expert reviews on chain metrics for hundreds of token projects, essentially acts as an unofficial essentially standards for openness. These kinds of technologies enable investors and businesses to tell the difference between registered tokens or the real ones. In fact, a bill that might essentially die in early 2026, according to essentially Nikki, via retainers, this could make crypto essentially a legal financial instrument and set the stage for a single 20% capital gains tax rate instead of the higher, essentially what Japan is suggesting. Usage and indicators also back up the push as well, with the FCA says that there are more than 12 million crypto exchanges and accounts in Japan and more than 5 trillion yen essentially in customer deposits also in Japan. I mean, Japan is just beyond expanding inside the crypto space. Japan also has the travel rule for VSAP licensings, which says that qualifying transfers must have standard senders and receiver data. This is significant for the PayPay, essentially for the PayPay system that's expanding inside the crypto market space. If the integration works, Japan could become the first major market where crypto feels embedded in everyday transactions. Japan is trying to get crypto essentially embedded into everyday transactions. This is what's happening when you zoom out of the charts. Honestly, if you're looking at the charts right now, you're just seeing the market tumble down. If you zoom out of the charts, you're seeing Japan trying to embed cryptocurrencies into everyday transactions. Now, before we go through the next news on tonight's live, let's go inside the comment section first. The next news we are going to be talking about on tonight's live is regarding the United Kingdom. But before we talk about that, let's go to the comment section first. Let's see where we were at. As I said previously, we do have essentially, as I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions or comments, go for inside the comment section. I'm always more than happy to help you out so you have a better understanding. We need all of these things to happen. In the meantime, we should probably expect some more downturn, even BTC to 90,000. But as you said, frustration is the last stage. Facts, what Shelly has just said. Hello, Miles and CMF. How are you today? Sorry, I'm late after school event. No problem, Scott. Good to see you, brother. How you doing? More Shiva and Luna say, let's go, Thompson. The point is, it's coming. We just have to be patient for a bit longer. Use this opportunity to keep buying. I agree, facts, what Shelly has just said. Obviously, not financial advice, and sort of what I said, or essentially what I read out, or what Shelly has said. Not financial advice at all. But I agree 100%. They want to frustrate you all again and want you to sell off both XLM and XRP. Please do not consider that option. I agree, Thompson, 100%. If you want to build generational wealth, then follow the money. Facts. Look at the macroeconomics, not the micro. Facts. Hooray, Flair's network minting servers are active again. Now I just converted some of my XRP to XRP. Yeah, baby. Let's go, Thompson. My hobby is going to sell the farm and all his animals and go all in on crypto. I'm selling the cars and the houses and my right kidney. My right kidney. That's the way to do it. What Shelly has just said inside the comment section, that's the spirit. Now, UK is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. UK central bank says stable coins caps are temporary. So the UK also attended the FinTech week that was happening essentially regarding cryptocurrencies. You know, the UK tends to stay out of it that much because now with that US and UK relationship they have, obviously they're weighing in their inputs. And the Deputy Governor, Sarah Breeden, essentially used her remarks at the DC FinTech week to outline more flexible approaches, saying that restrictions are meant as short-term safety buffers. What she's referring to is the UK suggested that we should cap stablecoins of how much digital money somebody can have. And the people didn't like it. The crypto space hated it because they said essentially it's stopping and hindering innovation inside of the crypto sector inside the United Kingdom. And she just came out from a UK perspective to clarify what the British government meant when they said they're going to put a cap, a limit on how much digital money you can own. Deputy Governor Sarah essentially said, while the financial system adjusts to new forms of digital money, once that transition stabilizes, she said, the limits will be lifted, is what she's saying. The move marks an important clarification following months of criticism from crypto firms and financial technology groups, who warned that proposed thresholds between £10,000 and £20,000 would make the UK appear unfriendly to blockchain innovation. That is the limit they were trying to put inside the United Kingdom, £10,000 to £20,000 limit of the amount of essentially stablecoins you could possibly essentially earn or keep in your savings. The UK appeared to hinder innovation in that sense. Breeden pushed back on that view, stressing that the goal isn't to suppress adoption, but to ensure banks and payment systems can adapt without risking funding for the real economy. What she's referring to is that banks fear stablecoins because people, when they start to realize that they don't really need bank accounts and they're forced into a digital world, whether they like it or not, will just end up going towards stablecoins. People will take their money back, people will take their money out of the bank and go towards stablecoins, which could cause a bank collapse. Behind the cautious rollout is a deeper concern. The bank fears that rapid movement of deposits from traditional banks into stablecoins could reduce the credit available to households and businesses. Unlike the United States, where financial markets provide much of the economy credit, the UK still relies heavily on its banking sector. The central bank wants to slow that migration to give the system time to adjust. Our approach is about pacing, not blocking. Breeden said, we want stability, essentially. We want stability to evolve alongside innovation, not in conflict with it. To that end, the Bank of England will also open a consultation later this year to gather feedback from the public and the private sector. Among essentially the ideas of being discussed are higher caps for corporations, exemptions for large retailers, and flexible treatments for companies, also testing new products inside the country's digital sandbox, a regulatory pilot zone created for blockchain experimentation. Breeden also used her speech to resonate the bank's essentially belief that central bank money should remain the backbone of large-scale settlements. What she's referring to is, and very bluntly saying it, CBDCs will be the backbone of the UK financial system. So even though the Bank of England still comes out till this day and goes, we're not sure if we're going to implement CBDCs, but we're still going to spend millions of pounds testing just in case. But with her saying this now, that essentially, Breeden also used her speech to resonate the bank's belief that central bank money should remain the backbone of large-scale settlements, particularly in asset markets. However, she acknowledged also that tokenized deposits and regulated stablecoins will likely share the space with official money in the future. In other words, CBDCs will be the backbone of the financial system. Stablecoins will work alongside CBDCs. Something I said about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I said every country will have its own essentially CBDC money and also a stablecoin. She called on the financial institutions and new entrants alike to collaborate with regulators, saying that building a secure multi-currency system will require joint experimentations and shared communication. With her remarks, Breeden also appeared to be striking a balance that has so far eluded regulators worldwide, maintaining control over systematic risk while keeping the doors essentially open for digital economy that is expanding far faster than traditional policy frameworks. Also, in the UK, they have started, I don't know if anybody's realized it yet inside United Kingdom, but what is happening in the UK is obviously going to be happening in other Western nations as well. They started putting carbon footprints percentages on food products, and on it also it says that essentially this is your max daily essentially carbon footprint for this product. So far in the UK we have a digital ID. We're also going to be getting CBDCs. A social credit system is also on the way as well. And they've started putting labels, carbon footprint labels on our food. And also the small print under it of this is your maximum daily amount that you could have based on the carbon footprint of the food product. If you said this to somebody 5 years ago, they would have called you absolutely mental. Even though I was telling people 5 years ago, everyone around me, I was telling them 5 years ago, I was telling my friends, family, that this is going to be happening. They all thought it was absolutely, mental. And you fast forward to now, when I had one of my closest friends call me and say, everything is going essentially digital. I said, yes, I know. And he said, money, cash is disappearing. I said, yes, I know. He said, what's going to be happening? Are we going to get government money? I was like, yes. These are things that I told you 5 years ago. This is why I said, for the first time ever, if you're inside the crypto space, for the first time ever, you're going to be at the front of the line, not at the back of the line, this time around when the world completely changes and does a 180. Now, Paxos is what we're talking about next on tonight's live. Moving on from the UK and their carbon footprint food products to Paxos. It just tells you honestly how close we are to that digital future. It's not that far off anymore, is it? When they started putting carbon footprint logos and how much is your daily intake in terms of carbon footprint on your food with your digital ID also, and your social credit system is pretty much next. Now, this is a funny one, the news I'm going to read out to you now, which is regarding Paxos, which also tells us that this is why RLUSD is just the best to ever exist in terms of a stablecoin. Paxos's mistake, 300 trillion PYUSD was minted and burned. Paxos accidentally printed 300 trillion digital dollars. Deleted them afterwards, actually burned them afterwards. So Paxos mistakenly minted 300 trillion essentially PYUSD during an internal transfer, announcing and correcting the error shortly after. The incident highlighted vulnerabilities in stablecoin management, impacting market trust and causing brief disruptions on DeFi platforms, raising community concerns over token control and security. What absolute morons. Paxos essentially inadvertently created 30 trillion PYUSD due to a technical mistake during internal transfer. The surplus PYUSD was immediately identified and burned, according to official statements. Paxos, a leader in blockchain technology, reacted swiftly to the error, ensuring no funds were compromised, and Charles, the Paxos CEO, was involved in the error's resolution, though he provided no personal statements on the public, essentially, platforms. The incident caused a brief misalignment in the PYUSD value, affecting decentralized finance platforms like Ava. Although PYUSD pegged to the US dollar was lost instantly, it quickly regained stability, demonstrating essential resilience in market structures. No financial losses or breaches were reported, as an error was essentially pretty technical. The occurrence essentially sparked debates within the crypto community, focusing on stablecoin management and the risk of human error in digital currency systems. The crypto community voiced concerns over issuer essentially control in creating and destroying tokens, even though the issue was resolved. Questions persist regarding the stability and transparency of stablecoin operations and the potential for economic implications. This is what's wrong with having too many stablecoins. We don't need 50 different versions of the US dollars in terms of a stablecoin. Stuff like this could happen all the time. Imagine we had actually 25 different, I would probably do. Imagine if we had 50 different versions of the US dollars. Imagine how much issues could arise from one idiot printing 300 trillion tokens of a stablecoin. This is why we don't need that many. Honestly, we just need 2 to 3 US digital dollars, 2 to 3 EU, essentially EU money, or 2 to 3 British pounds, or 2 to 3 yen, or 2 to 3 Hong Kong dollars, and so on. This is why we don't need that many essentially US dollars, because morons like this could just print too much and flood the market space and crash the market space. Moving on from the idiot that printed $300 trillion, it almost beat the Americans. BNY Mellon is what we talk about next on tonight's live. BNY Mellon says, stay agile on stablecoin plans and focuses on infrastructure instead. BNY Mellon is decided to build some sort of a foundation for the crypto space instead of jumping ahead and going straight for stablecoin essentially printing, which is what a few firms in the institutional sector did. But BNY Mellon has taken a different route. They first want to build some sort of foundation for the crypto space. Again, this is all happening with the market on a downtrend. The bank isn't committing to launching its own token yet, but executives say it's building systems that could support one if needed. BNY Mellon essentially is exploring the development of stablecoin infrastructure, but has not committed to launching its own tokens. And executives also said during the company's recent earnings discussions today, the bank, one of the world's largest custodians, has brought forward several blockchain-related investments in 2025, including those that would support real-world asset settlements and tokenized payments. Executives linked that acceleration to a more constructive regulatory environment and improved market conditions. With the change in administration and everything going on digital asset space, we've essentially brought forward some of our investors and investments that previously might have fallen below the line, said BNY Mellon's essentially chief financial officer. When asked whether BNY Mellon plans to essentially issue its own stablecoin, CEO Robin declined to give a definite answer, but said that the bank's strategy is centered on supporting the broader ecosystem rather than launching a branded token. That is a smart bank. A BNY branded stablecoin will likely serve institutional use cases such as settling tokenized assets or listing in trade essential liquidity, but for now, the bank appears to be focused on building flexible infrastructure rather than just launching a product out of nowhere. We're in the infrastructure capital markets enabled essentially businesses, Vince said. During the call, we partner with stablecoins, we enable other people's stablecoins, and that's really the heart of our strategy. BNY Mellon is also Ripple's custodian. The bank already provides services to some of the largest stablecoin issuers, offering custody, collateral management, settlements, and other back-end infrastructures. He added that many companies may want to use stablecoins internally without building their own technology stacks, creating demand for infrastructure providers like BNY Mellon. While he left open the possibility of developing systems right up to the point of issuing a BNY-branded stablecoin, he emphasized that the firm is more likely to power the other stablecoins behind the scenes. That is an intelligent firm. They want to be the foundation of a digital world, not the ones that's just branding their stablecoin just because they want to have a stablecoin out there. We will remain agile, Vince said, adding, I think the sweet spot is enabling the ecosystem, connecting cash, collateral, mobility, and infrastructure, rather than just issuing something out of thin air, essentially for themselves. Separately, the company said it has relocated approximately $500 million in cost savings this year towards growth incentives, including also digital assets and artificial intelligence. The efficiency gains came from internal streamlining, essentially, and were essentially redeployed without significantly expanding the company's expense base. Also, they noted that BNY Mellon's board members noted that, which met earlier this week, has been asking whether the company is investing enough across the board, giving stronger market conditions, and the broad interest essentially wasn't specific note to digital assets, but reflects a broader push towards a position for the firm in terms of long-term growth. So, BNY Mellon, out of nowhere, comes out today and says, you know what? We are going to be the foundation of a crypto space instead of just copying the rest by printing essentially some sort of digital dollars and calling it BNY token. I think that is the most intelligent firm out there, without a doubt, by a mile. This is what every firm should be doing. We don't need, as I said, 20 different versions of US dollars. Just 2 to 3 is good to go. So well done, BNY Mellon. Amazing. Also adds credibility towards the crypto space when a massive behemoth firm like BNY Mellon comes out and goes, we want to be a foundation for the crypto space. That should send ripple essentially effects throughout the entire business sector. That BNY Mellon, a behemoth inside the financial sector, coming out and saying, we want to be a foundation for this crypto space. And there are people out there inside the retail section who are doubting the crypto space. And then you have a behemoth like BNY Mellon today, out of all days, with the market on a downtrend, coming out and saying, we want to be the foundation of the crypto space. That should just speak volumes of where people are standing from the retail section to the institutional section. Let's see where we're on inside the comments. Before we go for the next news, which is Ripple news, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight to the next news. Let's see where we're at inside the comment section. We were here. As I previously, this is live as always. If you do have a question, go for it. Or a comment, go for it. Let's see where we're at. Hi, Miles. Good to see. Nope, we were here. Yeah, we were here. Is it not just for the UK, but it is implemented on a global scale? That's true, yes. Regarding the carbon footprint, social credit systems, and 50-minute cities, and everything else that's coming with it, it's worldwide, global. Nobody can run away from it. Hi, Miles. Richard, good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Miles and CMF. Good to see you guys. Let's go for facts news. Sorry, I'm late. No problem, Carl. Good to see you. I saw that yesterday. Social credit scores on the way. It's not good. Australia will follow this dystopian path as Albo is upstart. I agree. 100%. You know, to be fair, doesn't matter who we get as a prime minister or a president or so on, depending on what country you're living in. If you have presidents or if you have prime ministers, doesn't matter who we get. This plan is going to be happening either way. But that's a funny comment regarding Albo's Opstom's ass. Also, I heard Jeremy Clarkson might be running for MP, apparently. Jeremy Clarkson. If anybody's fond of the Top Gear, essentially, TV show or the Grand Tour or Clarkson's Farm, that Jeremy Clarkson is running for some sort of an MP position inside the United Kingdom. I think for the first time ever, you know, previously inside the United Kingdom, you would only vote because you don't want it to affect your credit score. So technically, they don't force you to vote in the UK, but if you don't vote, then it affects your credit score. So technically, they are forcing you to vote, and you have to vote for someone. And I've never liked any party because they're all full of lies. Honestly, I've never liked any party ever because they're all full of lies. Doesn't matter if you vote for the right or if you vote for the left or if you vote for down the middle. It's always the same person. It's always the same speech. It's always about, I'm going to be helping the British people. I'm going to save you tax money. I'm going to close your borders. I'm going to reduce your energy bills. And then when they get chosen, your energy bills go through the roof. Your tax goes through the roof. Your VAT goes through the roof. Your country's borders are open 24/7, like a motel, and nothing ever gets done. And then 4 years later, the next person will come along and go, I am going to close the borders. I'm going to reduce your food prices. I'm going to, and then nothing happens for the next 4 years again. It's just an absolute joke. It also doesn't matter who you vote, left, right, or center. And this time around, honestly, people are saying, vote for reform or vote for conservatives or vote for the. It's all the same. It's all the same. It's never going to change. Honestly, it's never going to change. But they're very good at fooling people, though. They're very good. Because every 4 years, they'll come out, people will get, brainwashed, and they'll come out and go, this party is different. Every 4 years inside the UK or anywhere around the world, people will come out and go, this party is different. This party is actually going to help us and change this country forever. And then nothing happens. Every 4 years, people will come along and go, conservatives are going to fix this country essentially going to fix the British country and so on. Nothing happens. Liberals are going to fix this country. Nothing happens. Green Party are going to fix this country. Nothing happens. Tories are going to fix this country. Nothing happens. And this time around, it's reform. We're going to fix this country, and I guarantee you, nothing will happen. Because it's the same shit. Oh, sorry for saying that word, but it's the same. It makes no difference. I'll guarantee you, after what the voting is done, and let's just say reform has won, the next 4 years, people are going to be like, this party is different, the Conservative Party. After reform, I'll guarantee you. It's the same song on repeat. And nothing ever changes. My point is, I like it when people come out of nowhere. Because if we're voting for the same politicians just because they changed parties, it doesn't mean suddenly they've had an epiphany and they're going to be fixing our lives just because, one person jumps from one party to the other. They haven't changed. It's the same person. They're just jumping on the track to see which one's going to fund them. But I like the idea of people injecting themselves out of nowhere, businessmen or people like Jeremy Clarkson, because they're blunt. Honestly, I've never been more happy to vote for someone. If Jeremy Clarkson is actually going to run, I would vote for him hand on heart. Because he's not a politician. And that's what I like about him. Because Jeremy Clarkson is not a politician at his core, that's what I like about him. I would vote for Peter Jones. He's a businessman. He's not a politician either. Honestly, I would vote for anyone that isn't a politician. Not anyone, just to be blunt, not anyone. They've got to have a business background, in my opinion. A businessman or a businesswoman would be 10 times or a billion times better running a country than a politician would. It's just my opinion. A businessman or a businesswoman would be 10 times better running an entire country than a politician. You can have 1,000 politicians versus one businessman or a businesswoman, and I'll guarantee you the one businessman or one businesswoman would actually run this country properly than the thousands of politicians we have. 100%. Man, I certainly wish that they knew about this technology 5 years ago because everything was so dirt cheap. Facts. Miles, I read Ripple signed up for partnership with one of the biggest banks in South Africa. It's true, and I shared that news about a week ago. That is regards to multiple stable coins. Okay. I teach them what their digital world will be like, and I start by informing them through your live show on crypto markets. I advise everyone who have kids to do the same. No financial advice. Let's go, Carl. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely amazing. Just found you moments ago. I don't usually stop, but you sound well reasoned and insightful, sir. Thank you so much. Country 111. Thank you so much. Absolutely amazing. Thanks for the kind words. Oh, wow. The UK's new Trump. That would be great if he did run. 100%. Political leaders are professional freaking liars. I agree 100%. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Politicians are professional beggars. I've said this before and I'll honestly say it again. Politicians are professional beggars. Same people with Canada. Same problem with Canada. It is so backwards where criminals have the right of way. Absolutely. Miles, I have not heard you say moron for a long time. Morons. All these politicians. Absolute morons. Happy? Now, Ripple is what we can talk about next on tonight's live. Honestly, all of these politicians, morons. Now, Ripple is what we're going to talk about next on tonight's live. If there is one company out there, like and repost, guys, facts. Honestly, if you haven't liked or reposted this live show, I don't know what you're doing. Honestly. Smash the like buttons, smash the retweet buttons if you haven't done already, CMF members. If you have, honestly, thank you so much. If you're watching us on YouTube, smash the like button and leave a comment outside the live. Whatever you want to put. You can put hashtag essentially crypto, hashtag XRP, hashtag whatever you want. Now, if there is going to be a company out there that's going to save your life in a digital world, it's Ripple. Or their product, essentially the XRP ledger, or their token, XRP. Ripple has just made another aggressive purchase, you could say pretty much. So Ripple makes an aggressive move into treasuries management through G Treasury. An acquisition has been made. One of the biggest Ripple news has just dropped today, essentially. Ripple just announced its acquisition of G Treasury in essentially a deal reportedly valued at $1 billion. The announcement sparked excitement due to the level of power and influence that Ripple stands to gain from this now. The fresh Ripple news revealed that the company has been extending its reach into the treasury segment. This is on account of G Treasury's role as a top treasury management company. The acquisition will therefore allow Ripple to venture into corporate treasuries and managements. This announcement adds to the growing list of companies and strict acquisitions announced this year. Ripple is buying its way through the top, and that's how it should be done, honestly. With Ripple, instead of going around, trying to squeeze itself through all these banks and institutions, which they've partnered with quite a lot of them, but instead they're buying out companies that's going to help them expand in the future. And that is more than what you could say what the rest are doing inside the crypto space, to be fairly honest. When was the last time you heard Chainlink brought out $1 billion company to expand into? You never hear it because they don't have the money. However, the latest acquisition may turn out to be most important yet for Ripple. This is because the acquisition will allow Ripple to become a key player inside the corporate treasuries. Ripple is expected to combine its blockchain-based suite of products with G Treasury's expertise in treasury management. From a strict point of view, the acquisition will also give Ripple access to G Treasury's extensive clientele list, which spans across 160 countries. Over 500 companies. These companies and newer ones will benefit from Ripple's more efficient systems, both in terms of transaction cost and speed, and security, most importantly, and privacy. The move has been seen as a major upgrade to institutional rails. Some see it as the company's biggest efforts to become the new backbone of the financial industry. Ripple CEO Brad essentially noted that the development will allow companies to manage their assets with more ease. He remarked that it will include stablecoins and tokenized assets, and this was a nod to the aggressive institutional adoption that has been taking shape this year, as well as tokenization trends. G Treasury's CEO acknowledged the synergy to be unlocked from the development. He also said this is about the acquisition. This acquisition is a watershed moment for treasury management. We have focused on providing the most compliant and feature-rich solutions to corporations around the globe. The development may also offer a boost to tokenized treasuries in segments, which is aligned with one of the essentially key crypto narratives of 2025. But just how much of an impact will such developments have on Ripple's native token, XRP? XRP's price remains subdued, even though Ripple's announced several major developments recently. None of them, essentially the company's recent announcements, appear to have noteworthy impacts on the cryptocurrency's demand. To be fair, XRP was going still for a lawsuit at the early stages of this year. The lawsuit ended essentially regarding Ripple, which give essentially XRP token a clear green light as a token that is essentially legitimate on paper now inside the United States, alongside essentially Bitcoin. XRP's price traded around $2.36 after retreating in its last 3 days, despite previously showing signs of recovery at essentially at press time. Tag XRP essentially is roughly 23% below its September essentially peak and 35% discount from January 2025. It's on a 35% discount from January 2025. I mean, if you are new inside the crypto space, if you are new inside the crypto space and you are looking for a project to look into of what is crypto, what could crypto really achieve down the line, Ripple. Look into Ripple. It will change your life. As a company, incredible. As a blockchain, the XRP ledger, amazing. As a token, XRP, there's nothing else like it, in my opinion. Look at their contracts, look at their licensings, look at how much regulations is going to be bringing utility towards the table. It's top notch. Nothing beats it by a mile, in my opinion, inside the financial sector, by a mile. Also, on that note, we have also reached the endings of tonight's live. This was episode 389 of the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune in Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time, or UK time, in other words. Tune in Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. This was episode 389. Episode 390 will be tomorrow. Episode 390 will be tomorrow at 10 p.m. on YouTube Live and on Next Live, as always. And if you are frustrated inside the market space, if you're looking at the market space right now, you're looking at the charts and the prices are coming down, and you're getting frustrated, or people around you getting frustrated, just remember one important factor. While you or anybody else around you might be getting frustrated because of the crypto markets in terms of their prices, the banks, the institutions, the governments are all expanding inside the crypto space. So just remember that one factor, that while you might be getting frustrated, if you're getting frustrated inside the crypto space, if you're getting frustrated and the families and the friends and work colleagues around you are getting frustrated regarding the crypto prices, just remember one thing. While that frustration is happening for you, the banks, the institutions, and the governments are expanding inside the crypto sector. So ask yourself, why are these three groups expanding inside the crypto sector while you're getting frustrated? Let's go inside the comment section before we do leave. Great live, Miles. Thank you. Good night, Miles. CMF. Jason, see you tomorrow about the same time as usual. Let's see where we're at. Comment section. We were here. Seems everything is backwards sometimes. I agree. Love it when you rant and call them all absolute morons. Let's go, Ray. Ripple ain't messing around. They know what's in the future. Facts. Let's go, Semper. I mean, you never hear on the news Chainlink buying out a company and spending billions of dollars because they don't have the money. You never hear essentially of the other crypto firms either, coming out and saying they're going to be investing $1 billion to buy another company. They don't have the money. Ripple's the only one that has money. And day by day is either expanding through licensings or essentially partnerships, or it's expanding through buying out companies to expand inside the crypto sector, inside the financial sector, traditional sector. Tap the heart and the square revolving around the arrows if you're not sure what to like and repost on X. Facts, what essentially Shelly has said. If you don't know how to like or retweet, click the arrows. It's retweet and click the heart right next to it. It's like. Same everywhere. If you haven't liked or retweeted, please like and smash those retweet buttons as well. Let's go. Congrats on episode 388. Let's go, Scott. Great, Mal. Great live, Miles. Thank you. Good night, Miles and CMF. Cheers to see you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. Good night, Miles, and thank you for great live, and see you tomorrow night. Frankie Brother, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Night, Miles, and thanks. Harry, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Good night. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Stormy, great live as always. Good night, and see you tomorrow, same time. Autistic, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thompson, thanks again for another brilliant live stream. Let's go, Thompson. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, CMF. Hope all well. Funky Brothers, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Stormy, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles, and all CMF. Thank you for a great live and news. Let's go, JP. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Scott, let's go. Great job as always. Take care, Miles, and CMF. Like, share, follow, and leave a comment for support. Facts. Let's go, Ray. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Night, Miles. A brilliant show as always. Night, CMF. Let's go, Joe. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, my friend Scott. Good night, brother. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Just more of Iraqi dinner and Vietnamese dong as well. Let's go, Thompson. Hello, Commander. Let's go, Scott. Yeah, baby. Let's go, Thompson. Night, all Susie. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Great news as always. You have always told us patience is virtue. Block out the noise. See you tomorrow. Let's go free forever. Facts. Revaluation of currencies first, then cryptocurrencies after. Let's go, Thompson. But thanks, brother Miles. Great live. Let's go, Comatose. See you tomorrow, same as usual. I definitely cannot give up now. Let's go, Thompson. Facts. Thank you so much, Miles. Tuned in late, in my apologies. Coming back from stroke on Trent. Oh, I will replay it. Good night, all. Let's go, Lena. Thank you so much, Lena. See you tomorrow, sometimes you as well. Miles, I stopped on Essential Amps the pod, seated on the bench to watch you night. Kali, thank you so much for that. Absolutely amazing. Let's go, Kali, for the commitment. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow, sometimes usual as well, Kali. Thanks, Miles, for your hard work. Is it time for my kids to have their dinner? Senior family, let's fight for our freedom and not be morons. Facts. Let's go, Carl. Good night, Miles, and all the CMF. See you all tomorrow night for another great evening. Let's go, Addy. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. Miles, we have the bottle, your integrity and thoughts. Let's go, Scott. Thanks so much for the kind words. Either 2025 or 2033 for all the implementation of the new financial system. Let's go, Thompson. Thanks. Let's go, Scott. Great live, as always. Lots of food for thought. Hold the line, CMF. Facts. Let's go, Shelly. Night, Miles. Great live. Peg, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Shelly, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Night Miles, Pablo, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. To conquer without risk is a triumph without glory. Facts. Let's go, Carl. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Like, comment, smash the like buttons, smash the retweet buttons if you already have it on X or on YouTube. And tune in tomorrow, same time as usual, 10 p.m., long time onwards. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual for episode 390. This was the CMF live show. Stands for Crypto Master Family. Continue to this live Monday, Friday, 10 p.m. long time onwards for the most recent news of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations. Pretty much vital information we need to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. The disclaimer of this live, as always, has been not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. See you everybody tomorrow. Love you all. Have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world.